Everyone needs to pay attention to this. The experts agree that the San Andreas Fault is locked and loaded, meaning that it is prepared for a significant earthquake. It is exactly 1,300 kilometers in length. As a result of the relative movement of the North American plate and the Pacific plate, it cuts across the entire state of California from north to south. This is the San Andreas Fault, which is considered to be the most dangerous and feared in the world. Studies have been done on this extension, and the findings indicate that it is a reference to tragedy, panic, and terror. Both the devastating earthquake that struck San Francisco in 1906 and the fact that the fault runs through the entire state of California, one of the most populous in the world, have played a role in this. Thomas Jordan, who is the director of the Southern California Earthquake Center, has issued a warning that it is loaded and ready to shake. Jordan was speaking about the devastating earthquake that occurred in Southern California in the year 1857. After 159 years of what appears to have been peace and quiet, the time has come for Thomas to experience a significant earthquake, which will register as a 7.9 on the Ritcher scale. According to a report that was published in 2008 by the United States Geological Survey, USGS, a magnitude 7.8 earthquake was predicted to have its epicenter in the southern portion of the San Andreas Fault. This earthquake had the potential to result in more than 1,800 fatalities, 50,000 injuries, and $200 billion in property damage. According to the findings of a study that was published in March, the big one, or great earthquake that has been predicted to strike Southern California, may be even more catastrophic than was previously believed. When will it happen? According to the data that our team of researchers has access to, the southernmost portion of the San Andreas Fault is the area of the fault where a major earthquake is most likely to take place within the next 30 years. In a recent interview with BBC Mundo, seismologist Jennifer Andrews from the California Institute of Technology, Caltech, shared her thoughts on the subject. It was approximately 160 years ago when the middle section of the fault ruptured and the northern section of the fault ruptured in 1906, causing the San Francisco earthquake. We know that tension has been building up during this time because the southern portion of the fault has not ruptured in about 3 centuries. This indicates that the stress has been increasing. Is the scientific information in San Andreas reliable? The summer blockbuster San Andreas adheres to a tried and true formula which calls for the unleashing of a natural disaster, the introduction of pretty faces, and a significant amount of computer-generated destruction. However, the mere fact that we are able to depict cities collapsing as a result of massive earthquakes does not guarantee that this will in fact occur in the real world. After watching the movie San Andreas, a large number of audience members walked out of the theater with the impression that the events depicted in the film were true and could very well occur. Some of these individuals even went shopping to improve their preparedness for earthquake. However, before we start to freak out about it, let's question the story and determine which parts of it are factual and which parts are fiction. Is it possible that a large tsunami could be caused by an earthquake along the San Andreas Fault? No. The United States, according to Dr. Lucy Jones, a seismologist with the Geological Survey, large tsunamis will never be caused by the San Andreas Fault because the fault is located almost entirely on most. In addition, earthquakes that occur at subduction zones, which are locations where tectonic plates collide and one plate is pushed under another, can result in the creation of tsunamis. Because of this, the ocean floor becomes deformed, which in turn causes a tsunami. Since the beginning of time, there has not been an active subduction zone located underneath either San Francisco or Los Angeles. In addition to this, the San Andreas fault is a vertical fault. Therefore, even if it were to one day go underwater, it would not cause the ocean floor to move up or down by a significant amount, which is required for a large tsunami. Is it possible that San Francisco could be struck by an earthquake of magnitude 9.6? No. Only on subduction zones can you experience earthquakes of magnitude 9. As was just mentioned, there is no longer an active subduction zone located beneath either San Francisco or Los Angeles. This has been the case for millions of years. In the movie San Andreas, San Francisco was struck by an earthquake with a magnitude of 9.6. However, the maximum intensity of an earthquake along the San Andreas fault in the modern day is approximately 8.3 on the Richter scale. The earthquake that occurred in San Francisco in 1906 is generally considered to have had a magnitude of approximately 7.8 on the Richter scale. It was the earthquake that caused the most damage to the city in recent times. Berkeley Seismological Laboratory. Is it possible that an earthquake in Nevada could set off another earthquake in Los Angeles, which would then set off another earthquake in San Francisco? Yes. In the movie San Andreas, a magnitude 9.6 earthquake strikes San Francisco. This quake was caused by a 9.1 magnitude earthquake in Los Angeles, which was caused by a 7.1 magnitude earthquake in Nevada. According to Dr. Lucy Jones, a seismologist with the United States Geological Survey, the triggering pattern depicted in the movie is plausible if one adjusts the magnitudes to account for what is actually possible along the real San Andreas fault. The canyon that appears in the movie might have been formed by the San Andreas fault if it had been allowed to open. No. If the San Andreas fault could open up to the degree that is shown in the movie, there would be no friction, and friction is what causes an earthquake. As seismologist Lucy Jones states in her article about the movie, the gaping chasm we see rupturing the San Andreas in Central California belongs to the realm of the completely impossible. The movie depicts a gaping hole in reality that simply cannot exist. There wouldn't be an earthquake if there was such a big gap because friction is what causes earthquakes, and there wouldn't be any friction there. Have there been any earthquakes in real life that have been more powerful than the 9.6 magnitude earthquake depicted in the movie? Although not quite on the same level, the Great Chilean earthquake that occurred on May 22, 1960 in Chile was very close. It was recorded as having a magnitude of 9.5, making it the strongest earthquake ever measured. Extremely unrealistic is the movie's depiction of the collapse of a great number of towering structures. Structures that are relatively recent in age are built to withstand earthquakes of significant magnitude. What aspect of the movie San Andreas is the truest to the original disaster? Lucy Jones, a seismologist, believes that the most accurate aspect of the film is its portrayal of the characters' feelings. Characters who are better prepared and more knowledgeable react in a more calm and more collected manner, which increases their chances of surviving the earthquake. Which increases their chances of surviving the earth. First aid, knowing how to drop, cover, and hold on. Understanding that a lowering of the ocean level may indicate the impending arrival of a tsunami. The fact that landlines continue to function even when cell phones do not, and having a well-executed emergency plan are all things that, as the movie demonstrates, can make things significantly safer for you and those around you. How long has the San Andreas Fault been active? The San Andreas Fault boundary is one of the world's most studied faults. It is a continental transform fault that runs the length of the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate. Its northernmost point is near Cape Mendocino, at the Mendocino Triple Junction. The North American, Pacific, and Juan de Fuca plates all converge at a point or within a limited area at this location. The San Andreas Plate boundary converges with the Mendocino Fault Zone here, forming a transform fault that separates the Juan de Fuca Plate from the Pacific Plate. The faulty jet has returned to Point Arena. It runs straight across Tamales Bay into San Francisco, then through the Santa Cruz Mountains to a region east of Monterey Bay where the fault bends slightly to the east. It then runs diagonally through the Coast Mountains to the southern end of the Central Valley between Bakersfield and Santa Barbara. To the east, the San Andreas Fault forms a second, wider, and more abrupt Big Bend near Met, Pinos. After nearly 600 miles, the fault comes to an end in Bertram on the Salton Sea's eastern shoreline. Earthquake and San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault is a collection of faults, San Andreas Fault System. It has received worldwide attention after the devastating 1906 San Francisco earthquake. The San Andreas Fault line runs across California, which is a densely populated state. Several roads in California run parallel to the fault line. After the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, roads, rows of trees, and plants that crossed the fault were shifted several meters, and the road across the head of Tomatoes Bay was shifted nearly 21 feet. The terrain west of the fault migrated relatively northward in each case. Geologists assume that the entire accumulated displacement from earthquakes and creep along the San Andreas Fault, since it formed around 30 million years ago, is at least 563 kilometers. The locations along the fault line are empty and peaceful, making them ideal for a family holiday, camping, bird watching, wildflowers and fauna, rock collection, and natural beauty abound along the fault line. Along the fault line, there are several state and national parks. All you need is a good geological map and a strong desire to see the world's most famous fault. In the map, you can see the San Andreas Fault System.